All right, so last time you talked about your father having another family and your fear of abandonment. And I see that you brought your sister Corrine here in our session today. So I kind of want to go back to that fear of abandonment, and I just want to ask, how has the fear of being abandoned driven or directed your life so far?
Well, I think that I tend to distance myself from people when I can sense myself getting close. If I ever feel established in a community, that's often when I leave. So, whenever I meet people and I kind of get a group together, I sort of feel the surge to just go just out into the wilderness. So,
Yeah. Okay. Corrine, how has Chris's fear of abandonment kind of directed your life or kind of changed your life in a way? How has like him leaving when he went to Alaska kind of directed your life so far?
Yeah, so I know a lot of times we wanted to get away from our parents, and I know I definitely felt some resentment with our parents and whatnot, and his wanting to get away from our parents also, I feel like, compelled me to feel like I really needed to get away from our parents too. So, but I also want to make everybody happy or try to make things work. So it's pretty conflicting, and then also with him wanting to get away from it all, sometimes it makes it feel like he's also abandoning me, since
Yeah.
it feels like we've been a team, and when he goes off, I'm left behind.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you think back to a time that when you did have a sense of security in your family? And we also will talk with you, Corrine, just about that sense of family, but let's start off with.
I mean, I did feel like things were pretty bad from a pretty early age. I do know we did used to go camping, which things felt a little bit better then. Things felt a little bit lighter. So although I very much struggled with the dynamic I had with my father in particular, but also my mother, there were times when they were lighter, they were easier to be around, and during those times I didn't feel quite so uptight or quite so worried about them leaving.
Would you say things started getting bad when you grew up, or you aged a little bit more and you saw those things occurring, or do you think it started when your parents started their business and they started working more together, so they had more time to start that conflict? But
I think they kind of started around the same time, because that was as I was getting older. When I was younger, I didn't really think about these things, but when I sort of became a teenager, I started to realize that this isn't normal, this isn't right, this isn't the way a family's supposed to be.
yeah,
And that was around the time when their business things were taking off, so they're always off doing business stuff.
yeah,
And that very much made me feel pretty bad because they weren't around. So
yeah. Corrine, can you kind of think of a time when your parents weren't really neglecting or more focused to your father? How, if he ever had a time of neglecting you guys, or if it has always been kind of, I know Chris talked about camping trips, but can you think back to a time, or was it just the camping trips?
Yeah, so I mean, as far back as I can remember, I think it's been a lot of that neglect and whatnot. There would be times where he'd be encouraging and whatnot, but yeah, I think the camping trips are probably one of the times that it felt like everyone was able to kind of let loose a little bit.
Yeah, kind of be in nature.
Yeah, they weren't bickering with each other as much. The energy was put into being in nature and fully engaging and whatnot.
Yeah. During the time that you guys, during the camping trips, how was your life and just attitudes about life a little bit different?
I think things were a bit more positive then. And as I consider it more, as I got older, I definitely started to kind of feel like there was something about me that kind of made me, like very worthy of abandonment. Maybe it was like just sort of who I was. Those camping trips kind of make me recontextualize that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe it's not something that's specific about me. Maybe it's just has to do with the way, the world works, and sometimes people make bad decisions. But those camping trips definitely, kind of made me realize that, things weren't always so bad, essentially.
I liked what you said there, that you are not a person that's worthy of being abandoned. It's more of just life happening. It was definitely your father's choice. You obviously had no choice in that. So I definitely agree with you saying that you weren't. So this is kind of, how was going to Alaska, how did that kind of resurface some feelings? Did you ever, did it really feel like you were getting away, or were you kind of going back to the things that happened in your life?
It was definitely a chance to escape. I definitely felt like I had to get away. It's just something that I had in the back of my mind for a very long time, ever since I was a teenager. And like I said, a big part of it was that I felt like I couldn't be around people because there was something about me that made people want to leave me. So if I leave them first, then it makes things easier.
Yeah.
As we've talked about today, I kind of realized that might not necessarily be the case.
Yeah. How did that make you feel, Kareem, when you left and went to Alaska?
Definitely mixed feelings because I love my brother, and I know and understand that he had to do that. That is something that he had to do, but at the same time, I felt a bit abandoned in him going off to go do that. I was left behind to pick up the pieces with mom and dad and whatnot, and he didn't see it, but it really wrecked them, and it brought them closer together. But it was really hard. So
yeah, I guess one thing I never thought about is I was always worried about people abandoning me. I didn't really think of myself as being the one who abandons people.
How does that make you feel, Kareem, him acknowledging that?
makes me feel better knowing that that it wasn't something that you were aware of, and therefore the harm was unintentional, which I had always figured, but to hear it out loud definitely helps soothe the wound a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he wasn't really abandoning you when going to Alaska. He was just trying to get away from the negative thoughts that were around your guys' family, and
Yeah.
okay.
All right.